Follow the money.
That's what I always say. You always follow the money.
Yeah.
This is Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Paulie Howard on VSiN.
Happy New Year. Yes, we are live today in downtown Las Vegas. It is Follow the Money. Mitch Moss, Paulie Howard. This 3-hour show is brought to you by DraftKings, and we are loaded today. So much to get into as we'll recap what took place yesterday and Saturday night in the National Football League. We'll get you your playoff scenarios and what can happen. It is very convoluted. The numbers that we have on the board, and they have been all over the map so far for week number 18. And we do have a bunch of bowl games today to get to, including the two big boys, the Rose Bowl and the Sugar Bowl. How you doing today? Anything last night? Fireworks going off at 6 o'clock?
Well,
Keep you up?
bad.
Anything?
Yeah, it was bad. No doubt about it.
Got here today. I mean, there's thousands of people still hanging out here downtown, obviously.
I'm like you. I'm always nervous driving on the streets coming into work. You know, always just...
First guy got behind today.
Oh, boy.
Doo-doo-doo. I'm like, if there's a cop anywhere close, that guy's getting pulled over right now.
Yep.
Little scary.
No, I will say last night was unfortunate. I put the game on mute and put on the new Dave Chappelle on Netflix and was watching that as the Vikings were just annihilated.
How was that, by the way?
Not bad.
Is
It's
it
only an
worth
hour.
watching? Okay.
Yeah, good. It's always worth watching. Yeah, I love Chappelle. But total debacle by Kevin O'Connell.
I can't believe the way he managed this down the stretch and last night. I mean, that's as bad as it gets. That kid can't play. He's not ready for prime time. Packers winning in now. You know, Jordan Love, the quarterbacks with the most passing touchdowns on the year. Dak has 32. Purdy has 31. Jordan Love has 30 now after last night.
Well, they're schizophrenic too. I mean, where was this against Tommy DeVito? I mean, in the bad stretch, they had
kidding.
They started strong, then they were awful, and then they looked like they were going to figure it out, and then the issues they had offensively and lost to Tommy DeVito, and now they're in a win-and-in situation coming up, and the Vikings, which the season from hell with all the injuries, but still the great defense, and now the Vikings out of it as well. So it's just been wild what's transpired at the bottom of the NFC and how things have changed at the top or near the top with the NFC East. It's wild.
Well, and I'll tell you, I mean, because the Cowboys are now the 2 seed after what happened on Saturday night, and then the Eagles blowing that game yesterday, we've had 2 of the worst losses of the season in the last month. The Eagles lost yesterday, and the Dolphins lost against the Titans. They're as bad as it gets. Mm-hmm. And I'm telling you right now, if the Packers get in, if they're the 7 and they had to go play at Philadelphia, Philly would want nothing to do with Green Bay. Absolutely nothing to do with this team.
I would pick anyone against Philly right now. Anyone. I don't care if they're at home. They allowed 51 points in the second half to the Giants and Cardinals the last 2 weeks. They are 30th in third down defense. They've lost 4 of 5. A.J. Brown has disappeared. Didn't even talk to the media after the game. There's nothing to say. I think 1 touchdown in his last 7 games. Yeah. This is an abomination what's going on.
And now Devontae Smith, after the game, was in a walking boot for the Eagles.
Yes.
It's not looking good. Defensively, I mean, folks, what has gone on with this team on that side of the... Are we serious here? It's 21-6 against the Cardinals, and you blew that. When's the last time the Eagles looked like they had an A game? Was it last year?
Yes.
When they made the run to the Super Bowl?
Yeah, I think you're right.
So I guess the Super Bowl hangover, now that we're at the end of the season, has been real for the Eagles. They look terrible.
Right, and it's going to happen again. We haven't had a repeat division winner in the East since 2004. That's going to cash again. Oh. This is amazing. But it's just let's go with Patricia. And we have to change the things defensively. And then Dom getting suspended and what happened off the sideline in that mess. And then we're fortunate to come back and get the miracle win against KC and then a miracle against Buffalo. And here they are, and you were all over this yesterday. I don't care who they play. In the Tampa, Saints, I don't care. I'm picking against Philly. It's an unmitigated disaster right now. And the booing and the look on the faces of the fans and the crowd of what happened. I don't understand. I give them full marks. I know Gannon wanted to win that game. I don't understand what Arizona's doing. You know, get your number 2, number 3 pick and then move on, right? But they continue to play spoiler and win games here. And Murray with a horrible pick 6. And they come all the way back, and Philly can't get a stop, and they blow that game with the division on the line in the 2 seed.
Paul, I'm at such a loss at why the Cardinals would want. This is going to be one of those things where, like last night, right? People are going to wake up today saying, oh, man, I had way too much to drink last night. That's it for me. In April, come draft time, the Cardinals are going to look back and say, what were we doing? at the end of December and January winning these games. Why'd we do that? Now they're picking fourth. And, oh, by the way, they get the Seahawks at home. If they play people this week, the Cardinals will beat Seattle.
Yeah.
I will bet Arizona money line because I will absolutely get off my Seattle win total bet that I have over 8.5 from way back in July. I don't think they're going to win that game if the Cardinals want it. Because if they win this one now, Arizona's 4-12. The Giants are a big dog this week. Doesn't mean they're going to lose, but they're a big dog. Chargers, okay, they get the Chiefs. Who knows? Titans, what? So they could fall behind more teams now, and they locked up the 2. They're going to go from locking up the number 2 to sliding down to what? Maybe the 6th or the 7th pick in the draft?
I know. We just did this, guys. We just did this last year with what Houston did.
Uh-huh.
Okay? That game they had no business winning and showing up for, and they fired their coach, Lovey, after the game, and then you just saw the haul.
Oh, by the way,
and
people are going to point out, well, they got it right. No, they didn't, because the team that screwed it up was Carolina.
Right.
What if Carolina had done what the head coach wanted to do, and they took Stroud, and now Houston would be stuck with Bryce Young? How does that look? It's completely different potentially.
Absolutely. Oh, come on. The Bears are sitting pretty. The Bears are set up here, what they've done. So this is incredible how things have changed in Chicago. But it's going back to what you said earlier, too. I mean, that Seattle loss is just horrendous. I mean, defensively, do you have a clue? The Pittsburgh Steelers are gashing you on the ground.
Uh-huh.
You can't get a stop. And, of course, unfrozen caveman lawyer, Pete Carroll punts 4th and 1 in Pittsburgh territory early on in a game where it's high scoring and you can't get a stop. Typical Pete Carroll. So, wild day in the NFL.
We saw a lot of that yesterday, specifically from one coach that I'll bring up a little bit later on. Based on what he did yesterday, I would not bring him back. And I'll tell you who that is later on in the program. Also, the Ravens and the 49ers, they clinched the 1 seeds yesterday. So the Ravens, that performance, after what they did on Monday night, on Christmas night at San Francisco, to come back, you fall behind 7-0 right away. And it's a 56 points. Miami's the first team since like the 40s, I think, or 50s, to score 55-plus and give up 55-plus in the same season.
Yeah.
And now Jackson won his second MVP award yesterday. That's over with. And the Dolphins have to, in order to not slide down to the 6, basically, they have to win this game now on Sunday night. That's going to be your game next Sunday night in Miami. They're hosting Buffalo, and they're a 3-point dog at home for the division.
Chubb out for the year, too. Miami played the Bills, the Eagles, and the Ravens this year. They were outscored 135-46. Yeah. Mamma mia. And that is just an embarrassment.
I'll take the opposite approach here. I will say the team completely overachieved by winning 11 games because they're terrible. That can't happen.
They can't beat anyone good.
That's what I'm saying. You can't compete with anybody good.
Yeah, I know. That's right. You beat Dallas at home. Other than that, when you play an elite team, it's usually a burial.
Oh,
and Tua can't move the ball. So we're doing this again now too. And with all the, look at the numbers he's putting up. They scored 70 against Denver, and okay, that was cute for a while, and now it's time to get down to business, and he can't do a damn thing. And he looked awful, and Lamar wraps up the MVP. So we have our 1 seeds. Do we get a rematch of the Monday night game in the Super Bowl? Fingers crossed. I hope it happens. But then again, we've had a nice run here. We've had a lot of chalk in the NFL in the playoffs.
Yeah, no, let's go back to a comment that Tony Romo made on the air several weeks ago that you kept going back to on the show when during the same game with Nance, Romo kept saying, nobody's going to Baltimore and winning in January. And we were poo-pooing that and saying, Tony, you're out of your mind. A lot of these teams can go for... Well, now that we have more data points, right, and a bigger sample size to look...
Well, they're on a roll now, yeah.
Well, now they're playing their best football of the year.
Yeah, and certainly Buffalo has issues, and KC's still a mess, even though they won. So you have to like that.
Give me Cleveland at Baltimore right now.
That'd be great, no doubt. But listen, we've been here before. He's going to win the MVP. He's had a great regular season. The team had a great regular season. Okay. You have to do something in the playoffs now. His playoff record and some of his performances and the early exits, that's enough already. Can't defend it anymore. He's got to go out there, and along with Harbaugh, when they went 14-2 and lost to Tennessee, you have the 1 seed, you just obliterated Miami, and you embarrassed San Francisco on the road. You got to go out there and get it done and go to the Super Bowl. Yeah. No excuses for Lamar Jackson. No more for the Ravens. They have to get it done now. It's set up beautifully for them. These teams are down. Buffalo's winning games, but they have a ton of issues, which we'll get to. Kansas City's a mess. Cleveland is hot, you're right, but it's still a 4th-string quarterback. Got to win that game. What, Colts, Texans, whoever wins that, a Jacksonville team? Well, come on. It's set up beautifully for the Ravens to go to the Super Bowl.
Yep, and now that's going to be a Saturday game that we have this week. They're playing Pittsburgh. Steelers have to have the game to get in, and they need some other breaks to go their way. We'll get into the scenarios coming up here in a few minutes.
Well, who's better in preseason games ever than Harbaugh? But they can treat it like a preseason, but they can play their backups. But this guy's the greatest preseason coach in NFL history.
Yeah, he's amazing. Steelers are laying 3.5 in that game. That was not the opener. I saw Baltimore won.
Oh,
when they first started trickling yesterday.
Oh, yeah. I'd have to take the Steelers based on how well Rudolph's playing and Pickens and.
Well, I mean, what if Harbaugh announces he wants to play his guys for a half?
I wouldn't have a problem with it.
Neither would I. That's a long time off here.
I agree with you.
The other one, then, the 49ers clinched, like you said. They're a 3.5-point favorite to the Rams. Here's the deal. I think this is the way Sean McVay should look at it. They don't want to go to Dallas. They can still get the 6th seed, right?
Yeah.
Would you rather not go play?
Right.
You have to want to go play Detroit and not the Cowboys on the road. You went to Dallas earlier this year. Now, things can change, obviously. It did not go well, but I'd much rather take on Jared Goff, your former quarterback, and Dan Campbell than the Cowboys.
I'm with you.
Yep.
I think that's a no-brainer. And I would pick the Rams to beat Detroit.
And the Niners, 3.5 in that game. So,
yep.
More playoff scenarios coming up for Week 18. We'll tie in points, spreads, and totals coming up here. Happy New Year. It's Follow the Money on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
Looking to bet smarter? Then VSiN has the perfect holiday gift for you. Get the new special VSiN Pro access to everything we do through May 1st, only $79. Sign up today, unlimited access to the best bets, betting splits, premium analysis, 24/7 video, and the betting guides. March Madness right around the corner. VSiN.com/subscribe. Get the special now, VSiN.com/subscribe.
Yeah, Paulie, Happy New Year, buddy.
Yeah, I get that.
I know last night's one of your favorite nights of the entire year.
Yes, right. I wanted to go to bed early. The damn fireworks. It didn't stand a chance.
I think they started around 5:30, 6 o'clock last night.
Yes.
Fun times. Josh Applebaum joins the program now, VSiN betting analyst. You can get his 2 podcasts wherever you listen to your podcast. One is called Morning Bets. The other one is Market Insights. Josh, Happy New Year. How are you?
Happy New Year, Mitch and Paulie. Great to be with you. Yeah, had some fun last night, but no days off like Belichick used to say. And we're going to power through and give you some caps for the big games today, guys. Happy New Year.
Right. No days off but for Christmas, right?
Yeah, right.
Exactly.
No, okay, all right.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Yeah.
Before we get into your analysis on these 2 playoff games that we have, what is your advice to the audience about betting Week 18 in the NFL?
Yeah, I think my biggest advice, guys, would just be very careful. Don't force anything. I think this is the one week to be extra careful and really kind of, apply your handicap a little bit differently than other weeks, just because there's teams with such differing motivations. Like, I'll give you a couple examples here, guys. Number one, let's look at what's happened here in this Pittsburgh Steelers game playing against Baltimore. Pittsburgh Steelers are fighting for a playoff spot. Baltimore locks up the 1 seed. They have nothing to play for. We've seen a massive line move away from Baltimore, who could rest all their starters, sit Lamar Jackson. Looks like he's locked up the MVP after another great game yesterday. But looking at that opener, guys, you had Baltimore short favorite, laying a couple points. We've now flipped all the way to Pittsburgh, -3.5, even -4. Pretty good bet split here. The early bets, 56% of the bets here going with Pittsburgh, but almost 50%, almost 60% of the money. So this is the kind of thing I think trips you up, and really kind of think of it as don't force it. We have the playoffs coming up ahead here, which are going to be some fantastic games. So look at who's playing and who's not. And then also look at motivation in terms of some divisional spots. Like the big one that I'm looking at, guys, is Miami and Buffalo. This was a game here that we saw, very short favorite Buffalo, around -1.5, -2. Some books even open Miami a short favorite. We've now moved all the way to Buffalo -3. Remember, Miami, both these teams are fighting for the AFC East crown. Miami has a bunch of injuries, got really banged up in the last game against the Ravens, and Buffalo Bills are surging right now. They're getting just about half the tickets, but almost 70% of the money. So these are the little things to look at. What are the motivations? Which teams are in it? Which teams are out of it? Which teams are going to sit and play some backup quarterbacks? You got to know these things and don't force it. It's been a long, great year. Don't give away your bankroll in week 18 when we have a lot of question marks. If you want to be careful and save your bankroll and get ready for the playoffs, that'll be my biggest advice going into week 18.
All right, now shifting our attention to college football. Good advice, by the way. Totally agree with that. The Rose Bowl comes up today. We get Michigan, a small favorite still against Alabama. They've been the favorite since this game first posted at sportsbooks across the country. Totals in the mid-40s as well. What do you make of it, Josh?
Yeah, I like Michigan here. I think this is a classic fade the trendy dog opportunity. And you said something really important here, Mitch. We really haven't moved off of Michigan being favored. And why is that important? Because for, nearly a month now, we've had this line out for so long. We still remain Michigan the favorite, even though the public continues to hammer Alabama. If you look at the bet splits from VSiN.com coming from directly from DraftKings, it's been pretty consistent start to now, opener to now, around 65-70% of bets are taking Alabama. However, you got to remember the public, they really tend toward betting favorites. It's kind of rare that they load up on a dog. If you're kind of an average Joe bettor, you feel safer if you put your money down on a favorite, the better team, the safer bet expected to win. It's very rare that the public loads up on a dog. And we know this by now. When dogs become popular, they become trendy. Wise guys like to bet against those trendy dogs. It's kind of a rare instance where you can actually be with the favorite and go contrarian by fading trendy dogs. So even though you're getting 65-70% of bets on Alabama, you mentioned it, Mitch, we've never moved off the 1.5, and you've even seen over the last 24 hours or so, some of these 1.5s, -1.5 Michigan, are going up to -2. So if the public keeps pounding Alabama, why aren't we down to a pick? Why hasn't this hopped the fence and gone to Alabama -1 or -2? I think the fact that it's staying right where it's at is a classic line freeze when you have heavy betting one side, but the line won't move. That tells me that the odds makers are saying, hey, we'll take this nonstop, casual average Joe bettors putting $5-10 on Alabama. That's okay because we know that the sharper play here from the respected bettors is laying the points with Michigan. And also some recency biases at play, guys. Recency bias in terms of what we saw in the last game. Alabama with a big upset over Georgia, the two-time champ, versus, Wolverines not taking them seriously. Iowa wasn't very good. I think there's kind of something, a play right there. And also the historical bias. You see Nick Saban, 8 titles. You look at Harbaugh, feel like the last, few years here, he's really never won these big games. There's an SEC bias over Bama being from a better conference, but you add it all up, and this is a data play to me. Everybody and their mother is taking Alabama on the points. How can you not take the dog here with Saban in a big game? But the lines remain frozen at -1.5. It's moving up to -2. I moneyline Michigan here, guys. I love this spot to fade a trendy dog in a heavily bet game and go with the Wolverines to win this one.
Okay, we were talking about this before you came on, the nightcap, and this is, when do you see this, where the team from the best conference that went undefeated can play the no respect card, and Washington players talking about it, that they can't believe they're underdogs again after they were 10-point dogs out here against Oregon in the Pac-12 title game. Although it's going to be all Texas fans in this one in New Orleans. What do you think of Texas 4 and 63.5?
Yeah, I'm going to take Washington +4 here, Paulie. I think it's an angle here that it's not quite a contrarian spot. You're getting around 58% of bets here on Washington, so they're the slight public play, not an overwhelming public play. But I lean more on what we've seen through in terms of the line movement here, because you open at a lot of shops, Texas -4, briefly at times over the month of December, anytime it got to -4.5. Texas, you had a lot of wise guy money, grab the hook with the Huskies, bring it back down to 4. And we're -4, -110, both sides here. But there's a couple shops that are juiced up a little bit toward the Washington side. I do see one book that's down to 3.5. So that's notable to me. We haven't gone up to back to 4.5 or 5. It stayed where it's at. It's come down anytime a hook was available, and it's trending down late back toward Washington and the points. I lean on a dog who can score, too. I think that's important here. Obviously, the offense of Washington to keep pace with Texas or backdoor cover with Penix Jr. and some great wide receivers who will be probably drafted very high in the draft. So the line movement is telling me liability here is on Washington. And then you mentioned something important there, Paulie, the disrespect factor, the chip on their shoulder. Go to the NFL a few weeks ago. Remember when Baltimore went into San Francisco, and after the game, when they were interviewing the players, they said, a lot of guys in the Ravens were like, hey, we were a dog. We took that as disrespect. Lamar Jackson was talking about, and I think he's 12-1 ATS now as a dog, Jackson is. Yeah. They use that as fuel and motivation. And here's your quote here from Braylon Trice. I think it's crazy, just the level of disrespect we get. I can't really understand it, but it helps us put our backs against the wall, ready to play even harder because we are the underdog. So that, to me, is a motivational edge that you're also applying to kind of the betting market liability on the +4. So I'm taking the Huskies here, +4, hoping that they lose by 3 or less or win the game outright.
Great stuff. Again, you can get Josh's 2 podcasts wherever you listen to your podcast. One is called Morning Bets. The other one is Market Insights. Josh, Happy New Year. Best of luck today. Thank you.
Happy New Year's, guys. Have a great 2024.
Yep.
Thank you. You too.
Same to you. Okay, so that's my biggest fear of being on Alabama, is that it's been nothing but it's a public dog.
Yeah.
And I don't love being on public dogs, obviously. So that would be my one concern more than anything else, I think. What are we going to get from J.J. McCarthy if they can't run the football today? We haven't seen anything in weeks, months from that guy.
Yep. Can we get 2 close games? I mean, every year, Herb Street's talked about it nonstop here, but you get these blowouts and a year after year after year, blowouts, and what's happened.
I would say it's unlikely. My guess is we're going to get at least 1 blowout today. I hope I'm wrong, but I think just based on history, and that's the way it goes. And I mean, you do have a game with a total of 63, so I mean that could be 48-30. If it goes flying over and these alt totals hit on the over and is played indoors and the offenses are all clicking, which they can, by the way, that could happen, I guess. The biggest surprise today to me would be Michigan blowing out Alabama, though.
Yeah. I agree with that one. I could see Bama blowing out Michigan. But would Michigan be able to put Saban out like that? I mean, that would surprise me.
If he loses this game, with what he's up against, what you said, now he's got Yee as his agent. Is he gone?
Well, he was asked about it too, and he didn't really shoot it down. I would just think, who knows what's coming on the other side? Are they looking? Is he looking at a long suspension? Does he get blown out today? And does he just say, "I'll take all this money and I'll try the NFL again, and I'll take the Charger job"?
I guess you could look at it. You could look at it both ways, right? If he gets blown out again today, maybe he's like, I guess I've reached the ceiling here with Michigan as a program. I have to leave. It's not going to get any better than this.
Well, look who's coming in, though, too. Yeah.
Oh, I know.
Look who's coming in.
Right. Or if they win the whole thing, then he can just say, that's my swan song.
Yeah, that's true.
You're welcome, Big Blue and Go Blue, whatever they say. And I did, by the way, last week I said I think the biggest, if we got like an Alabama-Texas national title game, like it would be, actually, if we got Michigan-Texas, because that fan base is enormous. And I do think people have Alabama fatigue.
Mm-hmm. And SEC fatigue. Yeah. Okay. Not bad. Nothing wrong with Michigan versus Washington.
No, I think Washington's the sexiest team to watch, actually.
Yeah, that's right. They are fun to watch. You'll see that tonight.
We'll go over some updated futures in the NFL. What's over with in terms of awards, some division numbers still hanging out there. That's coming up next on Follow the Money. It's VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Follow the money. That's what I always say. You always follow the money. Yeah.
This is Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Paulie Howard on VSiN.
Happy New Year. We are live today, downtown Las Vegas. This show is brought to you by DraftKings. And Michael Lombardi is joining us a half an hour early today here on New Year's Day. Michael, I hope you had a great night last night. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you, too. Yeah, when you have grandkids and they're around you, it's always a good New Year, So thankfully, very grateful for the great New Year. And hopefully we'll have a great 2024.
Back at you. So now it's like 36 hours after the fact, and I know that you've talked about this a lot. Where are you at today with what happened Saturday night with the whole fiasco at the end of the Cowboys and Lions game?
We spend so much time on replay. We go up to the booth, we get it right. I don't understand why we couldn't get that right. Why couldn't we get that right? And I think what makes the case for the Lions so compelling is that Campbell went to them before the game and talked about the play. We did the similar thing in 2014 when we were playing the Baltimore Ravens and we went with an unbalanced look with Michael Human as the tackle, but he was really the tight end. Kind of got us back in the game. Harbaugh went berserk on the sidelines. But Vinovich I think he was the official that day. And, we talked about it with him. Belichick talked about it with him before the game. He understood it. And we put it in, ran it twice on that drive. So, I don't see how we can see Brad Allen doing any games. I mean, he misses a horrendous pass interference call in the Kansas City game. Then he blows this one. And really, it's all now we're in the cover-up stage. I mean, this is truly becoming the Warren Commission. We're going to cover up. He said, she said, no one said. I mean, it's really unfair. And in light of the fact that what makes this really, really interesting is that the Eagles lost.
Yeah.
Had the Lions won, it would have put them as the 2 seed. Now they're sitting there as the 3 seed facing the Los Angeles Rams potentially, and that ain't good for them.
All great points, no doubt, because, you know this all your time in the league, the ramifications of what happened. Detroit could have been the 2 seed, and I know your guy Belichick has been saying it forever. Everything should be reviewed. You can't count or depend on these guys or trust them anymore with some of the stuff that happened. And Campbell was just, he lost it afterwards because he explained everything to a T, and they still got it wrong.
But let's not forgive Campbell. Turns down points in the second quarter.
Okay.
Why, I don't know. He's got 6 more possessions in the game. Why not? When I first learned about football at the early age of 5, someone told me the object of the game was to get the most points. And for some reason, we are now in this world where we've taken the NBA three-pointer and no longer wanting 2s and transferred it into the NFL, where we no longer want 3 points. We'll just want 7 or nothing. And the game still is about collecting points. If he takes the 3 points there, he wins the game. If he kicks the extra point, he gets it to overtime. So, as much as I want to defend Campbell here, his game strategy is horrendous. He's so aggressive. Yeah. And I know he's got a whole community behind him that thinks he's doing wonderful things. So did Brendan Staley. How's that working out for him? And I think, to me, your job in the second quarter in a close game is to collect points. It isn't like he's sitting there with the 64 Packers where he was going to get the ball back in 3 plays at the 1-inch line. They were going to move the ball on the Lions, and they did. So, I can't feel sorry for him. I certainly don't feel sorry for Mike McCarthy and his game management. Throwing that pass at the end of the game after they called their second timeout, what are we thinking about here? What are we thinking about? We want to be able, the clock's as much as our opponent. It's a 2-dimensional game at that point.
I thought that was, you're exactly right. I thought both guys were maybe let off the hook a little bit because Brad Allen just completely botched it at the very end of the game, and he deserved to get eviscerated. But McCarthy,
he did.
McCarthy's clock management is some of the worst I've ever seen.
It's horrible. And so is Campbell's. Let's be clear here now. Campbell's strategy to go for it. And, one of the things you do as an obligation to your team is to give them every opportunity to win the game. If we want to make the football game come down to 1 play, then why don't we just put the ball in the 5? You got a shot, I got a shot, and we'll play 3 plays and the game will be over. 80,000 people will come to watch 1 play. Why not get it into overtime? Why not? And if you lose in overtime, that's one thing. But why lose? When the ball got moved back to the 7, everybody that I was watching the game with looked at me and are you kidding me? He's not going to kick the extra point?
That I couldn't believe. I was shocked by that, no doubt. He also faked a punt from his own 15 again. It worked, but we saw what happened on Thanksgiving against Green Bay. Explain what the Giants were doing. I loved your tweet. They settled for a 54-yard field goal?
I think the other thing I learned at an early age is there's a difference between being in field goal range and making the field goal, right? That's a distinction that when you're behind in a game, you as the head coach have to understand, right? You got Mason Crosby. Why he's on your team, I don't know. He was so erratic last year. There's got to be somebody who can kick better, but he's on your team. But you got to know in your heart, you watch pregame warm-up, you've watched them all week, you got to know that we got to make this a chip shot for this guy. And if he misses a chip shot, so be it. But to spike the ball and then to run 2 bad plays and to think he's going to make a 50-yarder, are you kidding me? I thought that was as bad as it gets. Why they spiked it, I have no idea. Why waste a play? Keep running a play. Yep. The Rams were trying to get lined up. They were exhausted. They were running back. Tyrod Taylor could have ran quarterback draw for another 10 yards for all we know. I thought it was just another example of poor game management at the end. Now, they'll blame it on the communication. Well, we wanted to do that. No, that was horrible. The object of the game is to get into makeable field goal range, not field goal range.
Now, having said that, where would you put Sean McVay today in terms of pecking order Coach of the Year?
Well, considering I think when I looked at his team this summer, I thought it was a disaster. And I think he's Coach of the Year, but he won't get it because these teams that get into that wild card area don't get enough credit. Now, Kevin Stefanski deserves a ton of credit because we watched our dear friend Robert Saleh, who's done a wonderful job and deserves to come back at the New York Football Giants. I mean, I don't know if you could do a better job. How about this, guys? Robert Saleh's coached 50 games. Eric Mangini took the team to the playoffs. He coached 48 and got fired. Robert Saleh coached 50. He's got a 33% winning percentage, but let's run it back, right?
Wow.
So, give Stefanski's evidence. If you're presenting the case for Stefanski, your first witness to the courtroom is Robert Saleh because he shows you how good Stefanski is.
Yeah, unbelievable. How bad is it right there on talk radio with Philly?
Oh, my God.
I mean, this defense is like Mitch. It's got to be the worst in the league right now. But
I mean, you're up 21-3, and you let the Arizona Cardinals. Just so we put this in perspective, Kyler Murray's all his numbers, analytical numbers, advanced stats numbers, were just slightly ahead of Aiden O'Connell, as the worst quarterback in the league. And you let this team run the ball down your throat to come back and win the game. It was funny. They had it when I'm watching the game and they panned the crowd when the Eagles kicked the field goal. And all my Goomba friends were in the stands. I could see them all and they all had this look of either they had a really bad stomach ache or they knew the Cardinals were going to score. You figure it out, right? And they knew the Cardinals were going to get 7. They knew that field goal wasn't really going to win the game for them. And the Cardinals went right down the field and scored. Look, this problem in Philly has gone on. Remember, the Chiefs were down 10 at the half and scored against them, right? And then they signed back. They signed back Slay. They signed back Bradbury. Why? I don't know, because that was the weak link of their team. And, they've always tried to get away with no linebackers. But the concerning part here is how bad their defensive line is playing in terms of the run. That's really the biggest fault here. They should be better up front against the run.
Okay, how about let's be positive. Would you run it back, bring everyone back in Chicago?
I think you have to. I really do. I think Eberflus has done a great job. I mean, look, his defensive coordinator gets arrested or whatever happens to him.
Yep.
His running back coach, the whole thing's fallen apart. There was a ton of injuries. I think he's done a really good job. I still don't think Justin Fields is your starting quarterback. However, he's got value. I would draft the quarterback and trade Fields. You're not going to pay Fields $50 million a year. You're not going to pay him a second contract. That's really the question. It isn't, are we going to run it back with Fields? Are we going to pay Fields? You have to reframe the question.
Okay.
And I think if you're Ryan Poles, you're not paying Fields.
Yeah, and there's no middle ground, right? Like, if he's going to be the franchise quarterback, it has to be one of those jaw-dropping contracts. It can't be like a 4-year deal for $87 million. It's got to be the full boat.
Well, I mean, that's what the Giants gave Daniel Jones, and all of us shook our heads and said, what are we doing here?
Yep.
So you're going to pay him the same deal as Daniel Jones? He's not even as good. I mean, he makes more plays than Daniel Jones, but in the fourth quarter, he's going to turn the ball over.
Can they get a first-round pick for Justin Fields?
I think that would be hard, but I think they could get a high pick. Look, it's beauty's in the eye of the beholder. Did I think Carson Wentz would go for what he went for when he went to Washington? No. But, there is value. Look at Derek Carr. Look at the contract Carr got down at the Saints. Now, you think the Saints are happy with that deal? No. But they won yesterday, so they're going to pretend they are.
Do you like anybody today in either of the college football playoff games, Michael?
I love both coaches in the first game, right? I love the captain, Mr. Harbaugh. Hiring Don Yee is a signal, I think, to everybody. Because one thing about Jim Harbaugh, he usually doesn't have an agent. And when he hired Don Yee, that tells me everything. And Don's a good man. Don's well connected in the league. I think it's hard for me. I think unless J.J. McCarthy plays an unbelievable game, I think Alabama's going to win. I think Milroe's movement is going to give the Michigan defense some trouble. And Milroe's movement with his eye level up the field is a dangerous proposition, which didn't happen in the month of September. I like Washington. I think Caden DeBoer is undervalued.
Yes.
I think this Washington team is undervalued. I mean, they beat Oregon twice. Oregon is as good a team as you're going to see in college football, and they beat them twice. I like Washington.
You think him hiring Don Yee means he's going to the NFL?
I think it means something, yeah. I do. I really do. And why wouldn't he go to the NFL? Why wouldn't they court him? I mean, if you're the Chargers, what are you going to do? You're going to hire another offensive play caller?
I think you're spot on, yeah. And with what he's up against potentially Michigan moving forward, great stuff today as always, Michael. Happy New Year. Thanks so much for the time.
Happy New Year, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Lombardi Line, 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 Pacific. Podcast is called GM Shuffle. His book, Football Done Right. Up next, we'll recap a lot of the betting action that took place from yesterday and a little bit from over the weekend as well, and win some, lose some here on Follow the Money. It's VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
If you're looking for a betting edge this bowl season, the VSiN experts have you covered. Become a VSiN Pro subscriber with an intro offer of $9.99. You get access to every play, every host, every guest, the betting splits, where the money and bets are moving every game. Don't miss out. Limited time offer. VSiN.com/subscribe. VSiN.com/subscribe.
We're going to hit the 2 college playoff games here. Cole Cubelic is kind enough to join us here early on New Year's Day. You can get his podcast wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. It's The Cube Show. Also, he's going to be on ESPN2 tonight for the coverage of the Sugar Bowl. Cole, Happy New Year. Thanks for the time today. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing great, guys. Happy New Year. Appreciate you having me.
Yeah, before we get into what you're going to be a part of tonight with the Sugar Bowl in Washington as a 4-point dog against Texas, I'm big on Alabama. I believe that you are in that same boat, believe that they're going to win this game tonight. But what should we be most concerned about tonight with Michigan?
Well, I think the wrong team's favored, to be honest with you. Wow. I think if you have concerns with Michigan, it would be the lack of explosive capabilities offensively. I think it would be the lack of creativity offensively. I mean, you look at what Michigan has done. They've only gone RPO 3% of the time this year. They only play action 20% of the time. They've only run the ball outside the tackles 26% of the time. 15% of their throws at or behind the line of scrimmage. There's just not a ton of variety in what they do. And the teams that have had success against Alabama's defense, and I know that there are teams, some that have not won a ton of games that people continuously like to point to, but what those folks need to understand is what they have done to find that success is use creativity. And Michigan just doesn't have enough of it. They don't have a lot of it. Can they get to it? Maybe. I don't know how much they can add in 2 or 3 weeks that they haven't really shown across the course of a season. This Alabama defense has been diagnosing offenses better and better throughout the late in the season. And then physically, that Alabama offensive line has made great strides throughout the course of this year behind Eric Wolford, their offensive line coach. And they have the ultimate X factor in Jalen Milroe. I don't think Michigan has a guy like that, nor have they seen a guy like that.
How about also just as simple as Saban's the best and with a month to prepare, other than the Ohio State game against Urban Meyer, when you give this guy a month to prep, he's been automatic.
I mean, it's not even in playoff settings. You look at the Sugar Bowl last year, you look at, I forget the bowl game, I think it was the Citrus Bowl. They went down and played Michigan State the one year, 2010, I think it was. They had a bit of a fall off. I mean, it doesn't happen in this spot where teams go out with that extra time to prepare and beat a Nick Saban coach football team. So I think you're exactly right.
Yeah. What do you expect from J.J. McCarthy in this game?
I think J.J. McCarthy needs to do more in this game. I think I would not be surprised to see 10, 12 runs kind of by design, whether it's a draw, whether it is some sort of a zone read keep, whether it's just a direct quarterback run, be it kind of a quarterback power counter, something like that. They've got to add that in. And I think he's going to have to do more through the air. One of the bigger problems for Michigan, too, is they can't live in second and third and long. They've got to have success on first down. Michigan's had a tackle problem for the last month of the season. Dallas Turner, Chris Braswell are going to be able to get home if they're consistently trying to live there. So I think J.J. McCarthy's got to be big for this team. Listen, the one thing Michigan has done extremely well has played clean football this entire season. They're plus 17 in the turnovers. They have 38 flags on the season. They've only turned the ball over on offense 5 times the entire year. 19 flags on their offense the entire year. If they don't play clean football, I don't think any of this is going to matter, because I think that's the most important aspect of their team this entire season.
So it sounds to me that you don't really think Michigan's even going to be in this game very much. I think you said wrong team's favored. You're kind of making a case here that Alabama could blow Michigan out.
I'm confident Alabama wins the game. The reason I don't think it will be by 17, 21 points is because I think the game does kind of slow down. I don't think that the tempo of this game is furious. I think both offenses have a chance to get bogged down for multiple series. So I don't know if the possessions are going to allow Alabama to blow them out. Unless there's a couple turnovers for scores, you get those non-offensive touchdowns. That might be the only path that I would see for an Alabama blowout. But I do think Michigan is a good enough football team, a sound enough football team to be competitive. I mean, J.J. McCarthy's 25-1. So I think it's competitive. I just think Alabama has too much in the end.
Is this going to be a Texas home game tonight?
There are a lot of Texas fans in town that I've seen walking around, and I'm staying right across the street from the Texas Hotel. So maybe my view of it is a little bit clouded. But I've seen a fair amount of Washington fans. I've heard that ticket prices have gone down in the last 48 hours, and I don't think it will just be a Texas home game. They'll probably have a little bit of an advantage from a noise perspective, but I don't think it's anything that's really going to affect Washington in the game.
I love Washington playing the no respect card here as their 4-point underdogs and undefeated. What do you think how this matchup goes, and if Pennick has success through the air against the Texas defense?
I think one big thing to watch in this game of Michael Penix's over 4,200 passing yards this year, 2,200 of those have come outside the numbers. And you might just say, well, okay, they throw it to the perimeter outside a lot. Well, that's also down the field. And I think you have a Texas secondary that's already not great. So what does that force Texas to do defensively? Safeties, a little further back, a little further out. That opens up the middle of the field for, say, a Jack Westover at tight end. Also, maybe you widen your linebackers out. You widen your defensive ends out a little bit. That could open up some run lanes, even though you have T'Vondre Sweat inside, even though you have Byron Murphy inside, and that makes it a little bit easier for Dylan Johnson to get going. I think this is a bit of a track meet style football game. I think both teams are going to score. And this is not super analytical, guys. I know you don't need a college football expert on to tell you this, but I just truly believe there's something about this Washington team. Mm-hmm. I think they have the it factor, whatever that it is. I asked Kalen DeBoer about it the other day. He referenced confidence, and it's something that they talk about as a team. They meet as a team about it in the offseason. They talk about certain situational football moments, and he said that's why they play their best when the bright lights are on. I just think this team knows how to win games. I think they're a mature team, a grown-up team, a team that loves each other truly, and that's why I think Washington advances.
Yeah, so you think they win that game outright. I was going to ask you, I mean, just based on a lot of things here as well. I mean, the Pac-12 was really, really good this year, and that team went undefeated. They had a lot of good wins to beat Oregon twice. And again, the lack of respect here. They were a 10-point dog in the Pac-12 title game out here in Las Vegas. They won that game for a second time this year. And the Big 12, Cole, wasn't that great. I know the Longhorns had that great win all the way back in September on the road against Alabama. But when you're comparing conferences here, Pac-12, I think, clearly was better than the Big 12 this year, don't you think?
I do. And there's one other part of that, and you could bring up TCU from a year ago. People remember when we were going into the playoff, they've trailed in the fourth quarter 4 times this year or 6 times, whatever it was. Washington, what do they have? 7 one-score wins, whatever that is. Uh-huh. I don't know why people use that against teams. I don't know why people try to use that as a detriment as to tell you that a team is not good. I don't think people understand how hard it is to win a football game when you're up 3 in the fourth quarter. Like, you got to play perfect football or to be down in the fourth quarter and find a way to win a game. You can't make mistakes when you do those things and when those are the kind of games you're involved in. So I actually gain respect for teams where a lot of people, I think, lose respect for teams that are in close games or trail in the fourth quarter. It's hard as hell to go win a game in the fourth quarter when you're playing a team that's almost as good as you or the talent's about even and they're playing a great game. Because you have to play mistake-free football, and that's not an easy thing to do. So that's just another sort of, I guess, check a box check for Washington that makes me feel like they have that it factor. Like they have something different about them that not a lot of teams have.
And the long winning streak, and they find a way to get it done. Do you think Ryan Day should be on the hot seat?
Absolutely not. No. I think bowl games outside of the playoff, I think our context on what we want these bowls to be. I don't think it can just be one thing. I don't think it's black and white. I don't think there's a carbon copy of what we can take away from bowl games. Some, like with Missouri and with Arizona and teams like that, they're teams that have great continuity, that want to go win for their school. They have a lot of pride in their program. Other schools, they have guys that have bailed to go get ready for the draft, or guys that are going to hit the portal and they're not happy and go play somewhere else, and you're just not going to get the same kind of a football team. And the thing that we forget about guys in the portal, when somebody leaves and those next guys come in, they haven't gotten a ton of reps across the course of the year. They're not just ready to go play against high-level competition, specifically that Florida State-Georgia game. Now, I will tell you, in some of these games, too, you got to question the effort, and that's one thing people are not doing. a couple of these letdown performances, Florida State specifically, go watch the overall effort of that football team. It's not satisfactory. So you can say guys were out, but they also didn't play hard. And that will be something that bothered me even more.
Yeah. What is New Orleans like on New Year's Eve?
Up until about 8:30, it was wild, but I can't tell you after that because there ain't no way in hell I'm going to Canal Street or Bourbon Street after 10 p.m. in New Orleans. I went to bed.
Yeah, I don't listen. I mean, we've lived in Vegas for 20 years. I used to do that when I was in my 20s, and then I realized this is the dumbest thing I've ever done. What am I doing? And I also go to bed around 8:30, 9 o'clock at night. Cole, that was excellent stuff today.
Guys, I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. I had two people in the elevator in two different instances yesterday asking what my New Year's Eve plans were, and I didn't know that last night was New Year's Eve. So
that's strong.
That's
okay,
there you go.
There you go. Happy New Year, Cole. Thanks so much for the time today. We appreciate that.
Happy New Year. Thanks, guys.
There you
Thank
go.
you.
His podcast is called The Cube Show, and get it wherever you get your podcast, and he's going to be a part of the coverage tonight on ESPN2 for Texas and Washington. Also, he had a phenomenal interview with a player from Arizona State after their bowl game win against Oklahoma.
Arizona,
yeah. After the game against Oklahoma. It took off on social media. You got to try to find it. We'll retweet it as well. It's great. In Pocket Plays coming up next here on VSiN.